Did I get the button?
I think you hit the wrong one.
No, you good.
Everybody's a comedian.
Some more, some others.
All right.
Says the head comedian.
That's me.
Enough. From the Home Center Spiritual Center ministerial team, our opening prayer. And wait a minute. Welcome to those on Facebook and YouTube. Welcome to the Home Spiritual Center Sunday service for August 20th, 2023. Almost forgot you, but not quite. Today's opening prayer is going to be a little bit short, but I'll get even at the end.
Oh, thanks.
All right, our prayer. I thank God for the Home Spiritual Center, the place for spiritual learning. It's our place to gather to express our love and light to one another. The love that is in each of our hearts equips us to show the compassion and forgiveness unconditionally for all those who trespass against us. As we gather here this morning, may we behold God's face in every person we meet. If there was ever a doubt, behold God's face in Reverend Jennifer and Reverend Connie as they deliver this morning's message of spirit, compassion, love, and light. We ask all this, and we know in our love and light it is so. Amen. And now, Reverend Jennifer.
I'm coming. I'm coming. Thank you, Dick. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning to our friends online. It's such a beautiful day. It's just the sun's starting to peek out. So I'm glad to see all of you. So for those online, in the chapel, we just listened to Thank You for Being a Friend. And I was looking for the versions, and most of us know like the Golden Girls theme one, but I was like, I know this one's a little bit longer, but it just, I don't know, it just resonated this morning. So thanks for singing along. That was really fun. Yeah, it's an old song from the 70s, late 70s, I think. So yeah, it's true. It's true. Some of us are from the 70s, so it's okay. Yeah, that's right. That's right. Well, this morning I'm going to share about friendship. So as I started gathering my thoughts and preparing for the talk, as often, I thought, well, I'm going to look up a definition and just kind of get me some interest or get the flow going. And so friendship is a relationship between friends, the state of being friends. And I thought, well, duh. Like, that's not going to help me very much. That's not exactly what I said, but we're in church. But I was like, well, that's not really that helpful. So I thought about what friendship truly means, what it means to me, and how do we develop it? How do we maintain it? What do we do when friendships dissolve? So Thoreau said, friendship is one of life's great rewards. And throughout time, philosophers and cognitive scientists have agreed that friendship is an essential ingredient in human happiness. And there are some general defining characteristics, like it's a dyadic relationship, so meaning it's between two people, and it involves a series of interactions as people get to know each other. It's a bond of reciprocated affection and recognized by both members of the relationship. That's important, right? Both people need to recognize that there's a friendship. It's not obligatory. So we choose to form these friendships. So we don't have any formal duties or any kind of legal obligations. And it's usually egalitarian. So each person in the friendship has the same or equal amount of power or authority or presence in the friendship. And it's almost always characterized by shared interests and activities and companionship. So companionship being one of the primary motivations of friendship. And as we get older, adolescence, teenage years, adulthood, friendships often serve as a source of emotional support or self-disclosure and maybe intimacy in that friendship. So friendships exist across our lifespan. And so in every age of development, they're present, and they look different as we age. So toddlers, they begin to show preference with preferred playmates, and then they get into preschool, and then they start identifying their friendships as interactions, how they interact. So like, we play together, they're friends. And then we start to see that desire for companionship in those younger ages. And in that preschool age, they also start to feel or express more emotional functions around those friendships. So they get happy and excited when they get to see their friends, or maybe they get sad or feel lonely when they can't play with their friends, or maybe when one of their friends moves away. And there's not always harmony, right? There are conflicts. And they have that desire at that age to start to expend energy to resolve those conflicts. And that's a really important social skill that children learn and they learn that from their earliest friendships. So I'll bring it back to when my children were younger, and we would go to the park or the playground, and I would watch them begin to play with other children and make connections, and they would kind of group up, right? And they'd start climbing the play equipment, or most likely they were running around tagging each other or whatever they were doing. And they would run over to where I was sitting, because usually I was sitting, and they would come over for a quick snack or a drink, but they didn't want to stay very long because they needed to go play with their friends, right? Because they were friends now. That interaction on the playground, they were friends. And even if it was just for that afternoon, and occasionally I'd exchange phone numbers with other parents, but more often than not, we never saw them again. But they were their friends, and they would talk about that. Remember my friend in the red hat? They were friends. And when school age children, they spend most of their day with their peers, and they really begin to develop those friendship skills that they have acquired in those earlier years. And they begin to make friends that are like themselves. And so maybe it's somebody that sits next to them, or maybe they play together at recess, or maybe it's a child that looks like them, or maybe they develop a friendship because they walk home the same way. When children used to walk home from school, I don't know if they still do, but in the old days, when they would walk home from school, right? And so it's kind of like they start getting into that age where they're having less supervision, adult supervision, and they're doing more things with their friends. Like many of us, we would take off on our bikes and just be gone all day with our friends, or maybe go over a few blocks or maybe the other side of town and go play in another neighborhood without our parents around or other adults. Or permission. We didn't have cell phones. They weren't tracking us or anything. We would just take off, right? So in adolescence, they begin to form those close relationships as they grow cognitively, and they have more autonomy from their parents. And even though the parents are important supports, they're really looking to their friends for advice and support. And adult friendships, if we look at our adult friendships, they include a wide range of ages and perhaps life stages. So like any life changes, so transition into marriage, or transition into parenthood, or transition into retirement. I'm still waiting for that. But that process. And I'm sharing all of this because it's really important to me to think about how I started developing friendships. Like, where did I learn how to be a friend or how to have friends? And I look at the different stages of my life and the people that have come and gone, that flow, that ebb and flow, people that have come in and out of my life. And I look at those friendships that have evolved and have become incredibly valuable and incredibly special to me. And I think about a phrase that my mom shared. And I don't know if it was from a poem, but it's people come into your life for a reason, a season, or a lifetime. That I think it is a poem. I think so. I'm going to segue for a second, but I promise I hope it's relevant. So Friday evening, we had Sister Circle. out back. So if you see the hopscotch, we were just playing around on Friday. So Friday evening was really lighthearted, and we really talked about fun and just some childhood memories, maybe our favorite game that we like to play, or maybe a favorite gift. And I thought about my cousins. And one of my girl cousins was one of my first friends. And I think a lot of us experienced that, our family, or maybe it was a sibling, maybe you were forced friends, but whatever. So I had a girl cousin, and she was a couple years younger than me. And then her brother was a couple years younger than her. And we loved to play Barbies. I mean, that was the thing. We played Barbies. And, I had the house and she had the car. And anyway, we would come together and we would just have so much fun playing. We were friends. Well, we would force or whatever, require the boy cousin, her brother, to play Barbies with us. So he was super not thrilled about it. So I don't know if it was retaliation or maybe, I don't know, rebellion, but he would bite the feet off of my cousin's Barbies. So yeah. So in those days they had these wires so that they could bend, So my cousin had all these Barbies that had this, and to me it was like these long wires, but probably just a little bit. So her Barbies didn't have any feet. So my Thea got creative, and in my mind she did some mini Barbies. Maybe it was just one, but the story goes to her Barbies. She put it over the stove, the electric stove, to melt the wax or the plastic or whatever it was, right? To cover the wire. So my poor cousin, all of her dolls had like little nubs. Like they couldn't wear Barbie shoes or anything. And so her Barbies, when we played, they always got to ride in the car because she didn't want the other Barbies to see her Barbie's feet. Anyway, this is a funny story, but just thinking about that friendship that we had, there wasn't judgment. We came together, we shared, we played, I would sometimes let her wear like some of my long skirt Barbie clothes, let her put on her Barbies to cover her Barbie's mangled feet. But anyway, it was friendship anyway. So friendships form and then they evolve, and sometimes they dissolve over time. And in that formation phase, we transition from strangers to acquaintances to friends. And we tend to we begin to engage in interactions to get to know one another. And we tend to form friendships with people or folks that are like us, whether it's around values or beliefs or maybe attitudes or shared interests. Maybe it's around gender or race or social status. And there is a maintenance phase in friendships. We engage in interactions to sustain our friendships, and maintaining it through shared interests or conversations or doing things together, maybe offering support, insight, or suggestions. Maybe we're offering comfort or just simply holding space. And friendships aren't stationary, right? They do take an amount of effort. And that joint satisfaction in the relationship is part of maintaining it. So another important piece of that, of maintaining a friendship, is resolving conflict, because conflicts happen. And sometimes we see them arise in friendships when we become a little bit closer or increasingly closer, because we're sharing pieces of ourselves. Maybe there are secret keepers or our confidants, and we're interested and we're invested in each other's lives, in each other's happiness, and each other's successes. And when we get into that space of conflict, some research suggests that it can strengthen that emotional bond because it involves self-disclosure and vulnerability and probably a lot of conversation. And successful negotiation and or resolution can actually foster an increased sense of trust in that friendship. So some friendships are forever, right? Some are lifelong. We have some of those lifelong friendships, and then some dissolve. And friendships can end for many, many reasons or under many circumstances. Maybe one of you moves away, so it's distance. Maybe the friendship ends abruptly because there's a disagreement that hasn't been resolved. And sometimes they end gradually. Maybe we begin to have less in common over time, or maybe we begin to feel less supported by each other. I need a drink of water. I'm drying out up here. And I remember I had a spiritual teacher in the newness of my spiritual journey, a teacher, and she said, okay, when you get on this path, you might lose some friends. You'll lose some friends. And I really couldn't imagine that because I thought, well, I'm not going to change that much. I'm not going to change, But the truth of it is that I realize that sometimes remaining friends with people just because we've always been friends just didn't hold that same importance or that same value to me. And by no means do I mean that I'm better or more elevated or more evolved or any of that. But I begin to understand that we had less in common and that we maybe weren't able to support each other in the ways that we used to support each other. And I feel at peace with that. I feel like, and that's okay. My mom reminded me of something that I'd said some time ago about having all kinds of different friends. And so maybe some of them are my confidants. Maybe some of them are my adventure buddies. Maybe some of them I like to shop with. I have those shopping girls that go out. Some I study or practice with, and some I laugh with, and some I cry with. But combined, all those friendships combined make the best friend, the bestest friend, because they offer support and companionship in so many areas of my life. So growing up, I had best friends. I'm sure lots of us had best friends, and they would change, right? Maybe what activities we were interested in, or maybe we changed school. But I always remember having a best friend. I'd have a first best friend, a second best friend, whatever it was. So and as an adult, I definitely have those friendships, and like I call they're like my ride or dies. They're like my true homies. They're there through all the things, and I love and value those relationships. And there's so many varieties or levels of friendship. We look at childhood friends, or maybe those lifelong friendships, newer friends or work friends, or church friends. We have lots of different friendships. Maybe you have a friendship with somebody that you're married to or in partnership with. And many of us have experienced that we become friends through that relationship. Maybe we didn't start that way. And sometimes friends fall in love and start a relationship. So, what about the friendship that we have with ourselves? We expect others to meet our needs. And when we do that, we can face disappointment or maybe rejection or frustration. But when we've learned to pay attention to our own thoughts and our own feelings and our own body sensations, we really begin to trust ourselves. And we begin to give ourselves that comfort and that compassion. We rely on ourselves to get through those difficult times, like when life gets really, really tough. You guys know how I like research. I found an article in Psychology Today, and it discusses some things about how to become a better friend to yourself. And it talks about being a friend to ourselves isn't any different than being a friend to others, except it's much harder, or we stumble on it, right? It feels a little bit more difficult. And many of us have friends that have come and gone through our lifetime. So we can begin to look within, and then we count on ourselves to meet those emotional needs and to be that support, offer ourselves support. Because even our lifelong friends, those ones that know us better than anyone, they can't meet all of our needs. So some of the suggestions that they had were to accept ourselves unconditionally. I think that's a lot of the work that we do here, right? We're always doing that because our friends accept us. Those good friends, they accept us for who we are. They noticed our best qualities, and they don't compare us to others. And if we notice that we're becoming critical of ourselves, we can look at what we're struggling with. What are we struggling with? And begin to offer self-compassion instead of criticism. And I love the example that they give. It says self-criticism. I'm frustrated that I lost my keys again. I'm so stupid. Instead, self-acceptance. I'm frustrated that I lost my keys. Being busy and overwhelmed is taking its toll on me. So getting to know ourselves. How well do we really, really know ourselves? We get busy with life, and sometimes we lose track of the things that we like to do and the things that matter. So awareness and self-understanding are important. And this article suggested maybe sitting with ourselves, maybe regularly writing down our likes and our dislikes, kind of rediscovering or discovering where we are. Sometimes we come out of relationship and then we go, or we leave a job and we go, I don't even know who I am. I was so attached to that identity. I was so attached to that relationships. I did things that my partner wanted to do. I don't even like doing that. What do I like? And to explore that and maybe experiment with it a little bit and see, those things that you do enjoy. Do nice things for yourself. That's a harder one, right? But we do it for our friends, and our friends do it for us. They come in to brighten our day, or maybe they encourage us, or they compliment us. And we can do this for ourselves as well. We can spend time just doing those things that we enjoy, whatever it is. Maybe it's just relaxing. For me, it's sitting by the river, just being able to connect, maybe buying ourselves a small gift, treating ourselves to something. And finally, setting boundaries, which is a really important aspect of self-care. Some of us struggle with that. It's rough, it's hard, but we can run that risk of maybe overextending ourselves, or maybe we start to feel a little bit resentful, or we burn out, or maybe we're letting other people treat us poorly. Because our good friends, they help us protect our boundaries, right? And they encourage us to speak our truth, and they ask for respect. And we can do all of these things for ourselves, practicing setting those healthy boundaries. So when we're building any friendship, it's a process, right? And that applies to building that friendship with ourselves. It requires energy, an investment of time, a commitment to be open and honest. And we can take those small steps. We can get to know ourselves and listen to ourselves and care for ourselves, because that love and that trust will develop with practice and over time. So getting to know ourselves, I kind of mentioned, that is an aspect of our spirituality or our spiritual journey or the path that we're on. We're getting to know ourselves. So I ask, do you have a friendship with God or with spirit or the divine or the universe, whatever you believe? And if you do have a relationship, do you consider it a friendship? So years ago, I wouldn't have considered that I was friends with God, because I thought that I needed to do certain things. I needed to attend church, read the Bible, avoid sin, faithfully pray. I had to do all of these things to have a relationship. And a friendship, that seemed way, way too intimate. Was I even worthy to consider God or spirit my friend? Because I really thought that those types of relationships were only available or possible if you were doing right by God. I'm going to quote it because I don't even know what that means. Right by God, right? But now I understand, and that it is a possibility, and more so a reality for me. So yeah, I am friends with spirit. And as I reflect on my earthly friendships, they involve sharing and communication, conversations and listening, supporting, empowering, maybe some advice and insight, being in each other's company and enjoying it and caring for each other, loving each other. It's a two-way relationship. And I think of it as a communion or communing. So that's what our friendship with spirit can look like. I found this quote. It says, "It's true that we don't contribute to our being made right with God. It is purely a gift of grace. It is also true that our ongoing friendship with God is an active and two-way relationship." So we do our part, right? Just like in any friendship, we do our part. It's co-creation. We're co-creating. We're working together. And not just being patient and faithful and waiting for the universe or God to deliver whatever it is, but being actively patient. I like that. I thought actively patient. I need to do my part, right? I need to do my part. And many of us have heard God helps those who help themselves, right? That sat with me. Then I found one, it kind of makes me chuckle, but it's trust in Allah, but tie your camel. Gotta do your part, right? Gotta do your part. And luck favors the prepared mind. We do our part. So we're never without a friend. When we experience sorrow or loneliness or maybe heartache, spirit's close. And when we experience joys and triumphs, those happy points in our life, we can share that with our heavenly friend. So next time that you hear a message, maybe it's at church, or maybe you're reading sacred text, or maybe you're listening to a song, I encourage you to think of it as your dearest friend speaking to you. And when you're in prayer, or maybe you're singing in praise, or maybe you're sharing your heart with God, all those pieces of your heart, know that you are living out that part, that beautiful part of your friendship. And so with that, I'd like to move us into a little meditation. And just taking a moment to adjust in your seats. Maybe planting your feet firmly on the ground. And feel if it feels right for you, you can close your eyes. And we'll take a nice deep breath in and exhaling, really coming into this space. And I invite you to bring a dear friend to mind. Someone who you love, who loves you, someone that you feel supported by, brings you happiness and compassion, brings comfort into your life. Maybe it's someone who's crossed over or who has passed. And if so, bring the memory of that friendship forward. Take a moment to feel from your heart center all that they mean to you. And just allow that love, that companionship to envelop you. Let's take a nice deep breath in again. And let's exhale with gratitude for the friendship. Now allow these feelings of love and peace and comfort to remain present. And begin to experience all that you feel for that dear friend coming back to you. Recognizing that you offer all of that to yourself. Embracing the friendship that you have with yourself. Just sitting with yourself, feeling absolutely supported and loved. Affirming that you know yourself best and you are your own best friend. I invite you to take another deep breath in and breathe out gratitude. And allowing these feelings or expressions of love to expand. And allow them to shower over you. Maybe you're standing under a gentle flowing waterfall. And allowing your crown chakra to open and inviting in that highest and that purest light. The light of love, Creator, God, Spirit. And as you take another inhale, really feel that you are breathing in the breath of the divine. And exhale, feeling a sense of companionship and support and love for anything that your soul needs in this very moment. Knowing that you have a heavenly friend and that friendship is like no other. Knowing you can talk with your friend, ask for guidance, feel held and supported, all of the days of your life. Let's take a final inhale together. And exhale gently, bringing yourself back into this room, into this time and space. Maybe wiggling your fingers or your toes. Just gently opening your eyes when you're ready. Nice, thank you. So we had a little conversation about the program, so now I got myself a little bit mixed up. Okay, I'm going to turn it over to Dick to do the closing prayer, and we'll do our offering. Thanks.
Okay. Where am I? Surprise, surprise, my closing statement is from the book Remembering Who We Truly Are. And this will develop into a congregational participation activity for our final prayer. So hang in there. Pardon me? Okay. God's Day 2:14 from the book. It's called Awaken. This is the preamble to our closing prayer. You are part of the critical mass now forming to lift humanity to its next great awakening. You are among the growing numbers of people everywhere, sparking the next evolutionary leap to what humanity is destined to be, fully awakened, fully empowered spiritual beings, expressing in full measure the love, the power, and the wisdom of God that is inherent within them. Look around you and you will see others of that new enlightened race. You can tell them by the light in their faces and their atmosphere of inner peace. Let your spiritual understanding and compassion for others lift you to realize your true nature. And now for the exercise we will perform during the closing prayer. You probably, if you see what's going on up here, you see a lot of this by me. Everyone, touch your fingertips together and then put your hands down in your lap and picture the space between your fingers. There is the earth rotating. The whole planet is now in your fingers. And you are God. And you are loving this creation. And now our closing prayer while we hold this. God, awaken us to the power of the Spirit within us. Awaken and empower us to be all that you created us to be. Help us express your love and wisdom to our world today. As our world floats in space between our hands, we, the collective spirit of this reality, spread healing in this very moment over the Hawaiian Islands and Lahaina specifically. In our light, those of a lower vibrations will see. With our love, those harboring hate and distrust will soften and learn to trust. With our compassion, even the recluses of our world will become our friends. And finally, as we forgive ourselves for ever thinking we had failed, may we see the beauty in this, our creation. One universe, one world, in peace, and peace is the price of our souls. Amen. To those watching on Facebook and YouTube, this ends our Sunday service for today. Home Spiritual Center signing off.